Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Business Process Management in Zoho CRM. My name is Riley Lyman Pierce. I'm a Zoho business analyst here at AspenTech. I have formal training in discovering and addressing pain points, gathering and analyzing customer data, and optimizing user experience through my experience design and management degree. I'm also a certified Zoho One admin through the Workflow Academy. AspenTech has been in business for over 20 years. We've offered CRM and business-related solutions since 1994. We service clients throughout North America in a variety of industries. We're based in Novi, Michigan, and we currently have a team of 8 consultants and support staff. Something really awesome about our team members, though, is that all team members are full-time in the US and are dedicated to Zoho. Process management is a crucial element of any business, so hopefully this webinar will show you what Zoho has to offer, as well as spark any ideas as to how you can utilize one or multiple of these tools. So today we're going to go over the overall benefits of process management, and then we're going to go over some of the tools that are available within Zoho. So the tools we're going to talk about are Wizards, Blueprints, and CommandCenter. And then for each of these, we'll discuss features, benefits that are specific to that tool, use cases, and then we'll demo. We'll have some time at the end for questions, but if you have any during the presentation, you can submit them in the Q&A section of the chat, and I'll answer them at the end. The Q&A section of the chat is located by clicking the question mark icon on the toolbar. Process management tools within Zoho are powerful and can be used to help you streamline your processes. Process management tools help companies identify and define steps that are required to complete any of their business tasks. Most of the tools we're going to talk about are available within the CRM. One benefit of process management tools is they help increase productivity and efficiency. So you can determine how your process would work under optimal conditions, and then users can aim for that. Processes are documented, monitored, and analyzed, so your company can more easily react to change since it's easier to make changes when your process roadmap is clear. Documented processes also lead to better transfer of business knowledge. And since the process is mapped out, managers can make sure that all parts of the process are compliant and secure. Employees are informed of their duties and can make sure they meet the defined criteria, which should result in reduced errors. And since employees are clear on their duties and tasks, there should be less micromanagement. With those benefits in mind, let's discuss the different options. First business process management tool is called a wizard. Wizards are a streamlined sequence of forms, and they're essentially a redesign of the record creation process. You can take complex data-intrusive layouts and break them down into more manageable screen-by-screen forms. The sequence of forms captures the customer information really efficiently. And so we'll see this in the next few slides, the different forms that capture different elements of the record. So this is the original layout when creating a record in Zoho. This is specifically for creating a contact record. And frankly, I understand how this could be overwhelming. I wouldn't say that I know offhand which fields need to be filled out when creating this new contact just by looking at it. This is another original layout, which is obviously a bit simpler, but using a wizard, we can break this down. So these are the 4 forms that original layout has been broken down into, which are much simpler and walk the user through the process of what needs to be filled out when creating the record. So imagine how much simpler this would make that big, complex layout to create a contact. Wizard features. Some of the features include you can save partially completed forms as drafts and then submit later. So this picture shows where you can view and further edit these drafts in the CRM. Another feature is that when you're creating these wizards, you can use a drag and drop interface, which makes it easy to use and quick to set up. So you can drag these fields from the left onto the screen to create one of the forms. Other features include that you can show or hide, enable or disable buttons based on information that's entered. You can also dynamically change fields on the form based on that entered information. You can choose how the form sequence looks and define the flow. You can trigger automated actions between forms or after submission. So if you wanted to send an email or create a task, you could do that. You can show different sections as buttons on the screen. So if the record has a contact information section and purchase information section, these would be accessed by different buttons on the screen. So when you click that button, that specific section would come up. Wizards are supported in Sandbox, which is Zoho's testing environment. There are also validation rules that are available, so you can make sure that the right type of data is being inputted. So for example, it can check to make sure emails and websites are in the right format. So emails have the @ sign and websites check for a valid URL. Wizards are helpful because they're less overwhelming for users to input the necessary information, and they input that necessary information one step at a time. So it provides a better user experience since it's clutter-free and more focused. So remember the more cluttered record creation layouts and how much simpler these forms on the right are, especially for that contact record creation I showed earlier, and how much simpler that would be broken down. And then it shows you the required fields to fill out. Wizards are helpful because they ensure better quality data, and the user can collect the right information at the right time, and the user can easily navigate between the sections, filling out what's required. You should use a wizard when you want your CRM users to complete the form only in defined systematic sequence. You should use when there are several steps involved in accomplishing the task, or when you want the users to be able to save the form as a draft before submitting. This approach is helpful in processes where the application forms are extensive and the user wants or needs to be able to skip a few details at the moment, like loan applications, property selections, or visa submissions. I'm sure any of you who have done any of those type of forms know how long they can be and how much easier it would be if they were broken down. We usually use wizards as a sub-process of a bigger picture process, and we use them when it takes place in a single module. We use when this process happens usually in a moment, so think of creating a record. This process happens more quickly and usually not over a longer period of time. Some potential use cases include insurance forms. So wizards can make purchasing insurance easier and smoother with simple and interactive forms. University admission forms. Using a wizard can allow the potential students to apply to the university in a more comprehensible and clutter-free fashion and highlight those important details. With the product purchase form, you can divide a single product purchase form into different sections based on which product a customer is interested in. Okay, so let's look at setting up a wizard. So this is a demo account that we have set up called Taste and Savor. This pretend business does catering and cooking classes. So if we wanted to find the wizards, we would go to the gear icon in the top right. And then under customization, we see wizards. So if we wanted to create one, this is where we would do it. So we already have one created, so let's look at this one. So this is what the wizard setup looks like. And if we double click on one of these, this is what the builder looks like. So this is the drag and drop interface where we can grab these fields and put them over on the form. So we can see here that there are 4 different sections. There's the beginning form, the location details, the order details, and the expenses. So now let's look at what the user would see. So we're going to go into the catering module. And we're going to click Create Catering. And in order to access the wizard, we have to switch to that layout, and we're going to do this in the top left. So we're going to click this drop down, and we see under wizards, we have this new catering order layout. So we'll click standard, and then it brings up the wizard. So the first form is basic details, so the company and contact. If the company and contact already exist, we can pick them out of this list. If it was a new company or contact, we could create it here. But we're just going to pick an existing one. So we're going to click Tiger Clubs. And then we'll pick Tiger Woods as the contact. And then in the bottom right, we'll click Next. So now it's asking us to confirm the address and contact information. So we have automation set up in the background that's pulling in this address and contact information from the contact. So if this is the address that they want to use, we can leave it. But if they want to use a different address or the order, we can change it here. So we'll just leave it and add a phone number. And then click Next. So now we're at the quoted price and budgeted cost. So for the quoted price, we'll put $2,500. And then for the budgeted cost, we'll put $2,000. And then we'll click Next. So now we can add any expenses that are going to be associated with this order. So let's say we have some travel expenses submitted by one of our users, and we'll say Tracy for $200. Then we can add more or leave this one, but we'll add one more. And we'll say we had to buy some utensils. And Tracy again for $100. And then we can see the amount for the total expenses here at the bottom. We'll click Save Order here in the bottom right. And then we get this pop-up showing that the order has been recorded. We'll click OK. So here's the complete record. We can see it was broken down by sections to make it more clutter-free and a better experience for the user. Something that I wanted to point out is that this system information section was not on the wizard because we don't need the user filling this out. So in order to make it a better visual and more clutter-free, the user didn't see this. And that goes for these formula fields as well. So these are based off of the quoted price and budgeted cost. And the user doesn't need to calculate these, they're being calculated automatically. So these weren't on the wizard because the user doesn't need to interact with these. Another thing to note is that we had automation automatically creating this catering event name. And if you want something done like that in your system, we can totally do that for you. So the next process management tool we're going to go over is Blueprint. Blueprints are a model of an internal process that's related to a single module in the CRM. So think of lead qualification or deals. These processes only happen in those modules. Blueprints consist of states, which are a condition that a record is in at a specific time. Again, an example is lead qualification. So on the lead record, there's usually a lead status field, and say the current status is that the lead has been contacted, making contacted the current state of the lead record. A transition is the condition that is required for the record to move from state to state. So maybe in order for us to mark a lead as contacted, someone has to actually establish contact. In this picture, the white boxes are the states and the green are the transitions. So we can see that mentioned scenario here. So there's a new contact and someone established contact, which is the transition or condition that needs to be met for the record to move to the contacted state. Some Blueprint features are Blueprint allows you to define every stage in a process and what conditions should move the record from state to state. You can require fields in order to move to another state. There's also that data validation that we talked about earlier. You can define the process flow in the editor. You can configure transition settings. These include what should happen before, during, and after a transition, and this is shown in the picture on the right. There's also an option for a common transition, which we can see on the left, which means that transition can be reached from any other state. For example, there may be multiple reasons the lead is marked as junk. Maybe no one could get a hold of them, or someone did get a hold of them and it was some sort of scam. Some cool new Blueprint features are parallel transitions, which are when there are multiple steps that need to happen before a record can move to the next state. And then there are also multiple transitions where when any of the criteria are met, it will allow the record to move to the next state. So this picture is an example of a vendor onboarding process. During the initial onboarding, the user has to go through all of these steps with the vendor before they're approved. So they have to review the proposal, collect a W-9, research the vendor, and then make sure they meet internal criteria. After all of these steps are completed, then the vendor can be approved. Blueprints are helpful because you can capture an entire offline process within the software. You can make sure to associate the right people with each stage, and you can guide your team through the execution of the process. So maybe you want to give your salespeople specific call scripts or require fields before moving to the next state. You can mandate and validate important information. You can automate routine actions like sending a contractor email. You should use a blueprint when the process happens over time and has specific steps, and when the process takes place in a single module. So I have a few examples of blueprint use cases. So the first is an insurance claim. We can see from the flowchart that the claim is submitted, analyzed, verified, checked for fraud, and rejected or approved and completed. Future releases of software where we can see they open and hold, or they open and find the requirements, develop, test, and release. So for manufacturing, where someone makes an order, the order is approved, designed, manufactured, polished, painted, inspected, where it will either pass or not pass, but after passing, it's packed, sent for delivery, and completed. So if we wanted to create a blueprint, we would go back to the gear icon. And then under process management, we see blueprint. So this is where you would go to create a blueprint. As you can see, we already have some made, and we're going to look at this new lead process blueprint. So the white boxes are the states and the blue or green are the transitions. The blue transitions are common transitions that can be reached from multiple states. You can also see these before, during, and after actions on the right that we can set up. In this leads process, we have a lead enter the blueprint when the lead status is not contacted. A team member attempts to contact them and they either get a hold of them or they don't. If they do, they can mark them as lost, junk, qualified, or pre-qualified based on the call. If they don't get a hold of them, we have tasks automatically assigned to remind them to try to get in contact with the lead. Now let's see what it looks like to move a record through this blueprint process. So we're going to go to leads. We're going to click create lead. And we're going to input the necessary information. So we're going to do first name. This lead's name will be John Rom. And he works for Mercedes. And his email is John Rom Rodriguez at gmail.com. And then we'll click save. So we're going to update the lead status to not contacted. We can see that this record has now entered the blueprint. We can see the current state is not contacted, and we can see these transitions. Also, something that I want to mention is that now you can see we can't edit this lead status field because it's associated with the blueprint. So we're going to attempt to contact this lead. The possibilities are that we contact them, we don't get a hold of them, and schedule a 2-day follow-up or mark them as a junk lead. So let's say we didn't get a hold of them, so we're going to click this button and schedule a 2-day follow-up. So this has automatically created this task right here to follow up the lead in 2 days. And it has also sent an email to the lead letting them know that we attempted to contact them. So we now have the options to contact the lead, schedule another follow-up task if they don't answer again, or mark them as not qualified, lost, or junk. So let's say this time we get a hold of them, so we'll click lead contacted. And then we have these required fields that we have to fill out before the record can move to the next state. So John Rom just won the Masters, so he's got a big budget. So he's going to have an $85,000 budget. And the event date is in 2 weeks. And he's inviting 150 people. We'll click save. And then from this point, we have more conversations with the lead. We'll probably mark them as pre-qualified. And we can see that the record has exited the blueprint. And then from this point, we would probably convert the lead. Our third tool is CommandCenter, and it's another model of an internal process, but is related to multiple modules in the CRM. CommandCenter has a couple of parts. The first is the Journey Builder. Journey Builder lets you design elaborate processes and link independent teams and modules together. So it's meant to work with automation. So once the actions are clearly defined, the subsequent steps can occur automatically. Pathfinder is a newer feature that listens to various touch points across channels and then depicts the customer's journey. So how is CommandCenter helpful? CommandCenter allows customer journeys to be automated and therefore reduces manual intervention. You can get a bird's eye view of the entire process, which will allow you to better pinpoint bottlenecks and troubleshoot errors. You can identify the exact point in the process where there's the highest risk of losing customers, as well as improve overall performance of employees. You should use CommandCenter when your process runs across multiple modules. It's really ideal for the organizations with several departments, services, or third-party applications combining into a single business process. So the differences between CommandCenter and Blueprint can be a little confusing. So we made this diagram to assist you in discerning when you should use one or the other. So Blueprint is user-driven, takes place in a single module, is used for uniform processes, and captures a single process. CommandCenter is driven by automation, combines multiple modules, is flexible, transitions are automatic, a record can enter anytime from anywhere. It combines multiple processes, and you can schedule actions and create reoccurring actions. They both assist with business processes, and they both allow for manual transitions, and records can enter on create or edit for both. I have some example use cases. The first is the process of resolving complaints and support requests. So a case is created, investigated, resolved, and the customer is either satisfied or unsatisfied. For building loyalty programs, this company sends out welcome mail. The potential customer can decline or not respond. They are sent a reminder, and then if they still decline or don't respond, they're inactive, or they opt in and become either an active or inactive member. The last use case is winning back customers who don't renew a subscription. So a customer cancels their subscription, and then the company goes through steps of trying to win them back, even using special discounts until they resubscribe. Okay. So if we wanted to create a customer journey, we would go into the CRM and then under Setup, Process Management, CommandCenter. This is where you would create a new customer journey or edit an existing one. So we made this simple one called Catering Sales Process. So we're going to turn this one on, and then we're going to go into it. So we can see that this one has states and transitions already, but if you wanted to create a state, we would click Add State here, and we would fill out the necessary information. We would pick which module it takes place in, since you can connect multiple modules. Then we also could associate actions with it, instant, scheduled, or reoccurring, like field updates, adding or removing tags, email notifications, tasks, or firing webhooks or functions. When you attach one state to another, you get a little plus sign, which when you click that, you can create one of these transitions, which will take the record from one state to another. So there's lots of triggers to choose from, but you have to choose the trigger, and then you can add conditions to it, and then you can add any instant actions to this as well. So this customer journey starts when a lead record is created. So when the lead record is created, the lead status is set to not contacted automatically, which will cause this record to enter our lead process blueprint. The lead owner will receive an email that the lead record has been created, and they need to take the record through the blueprint process. The lead has gone through the blueprint process. We want to automatically convert the pre-qualified leads to contacts. So once lead is marked as pre-qualified, the record will exit the blueprint and the lead will be converted to a contact, company, and deal. Once the contact record is created, the contact owner will be assigned a task to reach out to the lead and create a new catering order. We also have automation in place that will create the catering event and put it on the calendar. We can go out of this journey, and then also the journey builders have these built-in reports, which we won't have any because, oh, just kidding. We do have some because they were in here before I deactivated it. So it shows these reports based on the records moving through the journey builder. And then we can currently see any records that are currently going through the journey. So let's see what this would look like as a user. So if we go to the leads module, create a lead, and it'll be Brooks Epka, and he works for Nike. His email is Brooks at gmail.com, and then we'll click save. So now with the command center, the lead status should be set to not contacted automatically. So we're going to refresh. And we can see that it's currently in the journey and in the blueprint. So because it was automatically set to not contacted, it entered the blueprint. So an email has been sent to the lead owner, notifying them that the record has been created and they need to see the record through the process. So let's say that they contact the lead and we get this necessary information. And we'll say the event is a month out. So we'll go to May 12th, and he's inviting 20 people. And then we'll click save. So we're going to mark this lead as pre-qualified. So when we mark the lead as pre-qualified, it exits the blueprint, which we can see up here, but it's still in the journey builder. The record is also automatically converted to a contact, company, and deal record. So if we tried to convert it, we can see that these records have already been created. So if we go to this contact record, we can see that this task has been created and assigned to the contact owner to follow up with the contact and create the new catering order, which they'll use the wizard for. And then we have automation that puts the tentative event on the calendar. So if we go to our calendar and then go to May 12th, we see this catering order for Nike. The last process management tool is control. When I first heard the term, I then spent 20 minutes trying to find it on the internet before discovering that it was spelled this way. It's a workflow orchestration software, and it's a standalone app offered by Zoho. It works for processes that run across multiple applications. It really gives you precise control over the who, what, when, and how of every process, and allows you to see the status of everything or who is doing what at any point in time. So we see in this top picture all of these processes, and we can see what stage they're currently in. You can also define responsibilities at each stage and enforce business policies. So in this same picture, we can see which team is responsible at this stage in the process. The whole purpose of control is to drive a process and drive action. And the features include centralized request submissions, customized work views, real-time status updates, can automate process checks. You can share updates and receive feedback, so you could keep stakeholders updated via email or chat. Can assign requests automatically, automate workflow actions, generate documents automatically. All of these automatic actions take care of your repetitive details and tasks. So we went over the different process management tools. Wizards and blueprints work in single modules. CommandCenter works across multiple modules. And control is a standalone application that drives processes that run across multiple applications. So we created this feature comparison chart to quickly show what's available using the different tools. So there are a lot more complex features available with CommandCenter and Control, but it does take a little more knowledge to configure those. So how can AspenTech help? We can assist you in setting up any of these tools that we've gone over, and we can customize any of these tools to better fit your products and processes. We can set up this automation with these tools to help streamline your processes We can assist in analyzing your processes to ensure they're as efficient as possible. We can perform business process mapping. We can also train your users on best practices when using these process management tools. Okay, do we have any questions?
Yeah, hey Riley. Got a couple of questions here for you. With wizards, what modules can we use those in?
Good question. Wizards are supported in both your standard and custom modules, except inventory and activities modules. So you can create wizards for different layouts in those modules as well.
Okay. And can you show us in wizards how you save a record as a draft and then kind of go back to that?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go to catering. We'll click create catering. And we'll go to the wizard layout. So we'll click standard here. We'll pick our company. So we'll do Nike this time. And Brooks. And click next. And say we're not sure about this address information. So we're going to click Save as Draft. So it'll automatically take you to the draft. So we could view it here and then continue. Or if you want to come back at a different time, you go to that module and you click this Actions button and then click Drafts. And this will take you to the record that you can then continue and finish.
Great. Is there any limit to the number of blueprints that we can set up inside the CRM?
So there is a limit to the number of blueprints. So blueprints are available from the professional edition onwards. So in the professional edition, you get 3. In the enterprise, you're allowed 50, and then in the ultimate, you're allowed 100.
Great. And it seems like there might be potential for something like a blueprint or a command center or something like that to conflict with other automations that are in the system. Is that possible?
So other than a workflow, no other automation tool can override any action of a blueprint.
Okay. So it is possible for a workflow to be running sort of behind the scenes and doing some different things, but other automations won't affect the blueprint. Okay. And given that Command Center can go across multiple modules, is that sort of like a replacement for Blueprint?
So no, CommandCenter is not a replacement for Blueprint since the features are addressing completely different problems. Blueprint allows you to mandate certain guidelines for different business activities, while CommandCenter is a process management tool that lets you build the end-to-end journeys for different business entities like customers, products, and services. And then you can automate them based on what happens in each state.
Okay. And a question about control. So that's a standalone application. But does that integrate into the Zoho suite?
So currently, control can be integrated with Zoho Click, Document Merge, which is Zoho Writer, and Zoho Sign. But if you have any other integrations that you want with control, you can totally reach out to support@control.com, and they should be able to help with that.
So you can integrate it with Click and get notifications, things like that, as you're going through these different processes. You can integrate it with Writer to create documents, and then Sign to ultimately secure signatures, whether those might be internal, external, different parties, things like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. There's another question here, and actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to field this one here. One of our attendees says we're in need of some specialized Zoho build support. Is it better for us to send you a scope of work or schedule a call with our team to discuss? If you have an any existing documentation that supports what you'd like to do, whether that's business processes or a more formal scope of work that you have created specifically for this project, we're definitely happy to take a look at that, and it'll give us some initial information and insight into what you're looking to accomplish. And then to follow up, a phone call would absolutely be great. So if you have our contact information, please go ahead and send that over. We also have Riley's contact information on screen here, as well as the email address for our support team. So feel free to reach out with any details that you can share about your requirements, and but don't feel like you need to put something together before we talk. So if you don't have anything already created, let's just get a call on the calendar, and we can definitely walk through these things over the phone.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about anything that I've gone over or anything about the process management tools, please reach out. Like Marshall said, my contact information is on the screen.
I think that might be it here, Riley. We can hang on for just a little bit longer, but if nothing else comes in, let's go ahead and wrap up shortly.
Okay, sounds good.
Looks like folks are dropping off. I think we can go ahead and end the session here.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Riley, nice job.
Thanks.